The energy industry is certainly being targeted right now by a number of progressives on Capitol Hill. Bernie Sanders, who recognizes or thinks there's a cabal going on and that they're capitalizing off of all of this. Enter Ron Ness, the North Dakota Petroleum Council president. Tim Stewart with us as well, the U.S. Gas and Oil Association president. They're working with a group of 10 oil and gas trade groups to effectively say, look, administration, Congress, we want to work with you, but let's get past the name calling. I think I've got that right. And gentlemen, I want to welcome you both. It's a pleasure to have you here. But Tim, let me, since I ended with you, I want to begin with you on this argument that's out there. And I worry that it gets traction if people don't challenge it. This popular notion that you guys or the industry itself is responsible for the high prices we are seeing. I mean, that's just not the case. But it's very hard to fight that, especially when you have the powers that be that don't want to take any of the blame themselves. So what do you do to challenge it?
Well, no, that's a great question, a great point. You know, I was listening to Hillary's comments a few minutes ago. In my 30 years of working in Washington, I've learned one thing, which is Congress is only good at doing two things, which is do nothing until it's time to completely overreact. And the reality is look, the Biden administration and its allies in Congress did nothing to address this crisis as it was unfolding while we were warning them of that until it comes to a complete head. And in fact, they actually were accelerating the crisis. And so when it all comes to a head, they trot out some moldy old ideas from the 70s with regards to windfall of profits tax or price gouging. And I'd tell Senator Sanders those enriching those investors, those are pension funds, and those are the small investors who've invested through mutual funds in the oil and gas industry. He needs to be careful about who he's worried about being enriching.
Yeah, you raise a very good point. I mean, a lot of people who invest in energy stocks, oil stocks in general, of course, love the added appeal of oil companies that pay dividends, of income that you can get from investing in a company, in a stock, and those are not fat cats at taking advantage of that. A lot of people, this is paying for their retirement. Leaving that aside, Ron, I'm curious as to how you work with an administration, though, that has already said we're not for opening up Keystone or even expanding domestic oil production, points the finger back at you guys to say there are a lot of unused contracts and leases on land, and if you were so hot to take advantage of that, you would, and you're not. What do you say?
Well, thanks, Neil, for having me today. Oil and natural gas is the backbone of our economy, and President Trump recognized that early on in his run for presidency, and he made our country, America, the world's largest producer of oil and natural gas. This president could change the price of gas tomorrow if he would come to the podium and announce that his administration is changing direction. He's directing his federal agencies to work with industry, approve permits, approve pipeline projects, urging the financial sector to invest in oil and gas and grow production in America. That is a huge problem that we're having in North Dakota, trying to get Wall Street and investors who are being told every day not to invest in fossil fuels. That is limiting our ability to grow. And this is a big, it's taken a long time to get here. We're, about 15 months for this administration to watch U.S.'s oil and gas production decline. We're not going to turn around overnight, but they can have an impact tomorrow if they change the direction of this country. It's fixable. We can make the cleanest barrel of oil in the world in North Dakota and the Bakken, and we can grow our production in America to offset Russian oil production. So it can happen. It's just that there's a constant diatribe, almost wanting energy prices to be high for the talking points you saw earlier from the Democratic Party.
Gentlemen, I just don't see that attitude in Washington going. And to prove the point, you can see that they're very interested in the administration in talking about getting oil, for example, from Venezuela, among the dirtiest refined oil on the planet. So if environmental concerns were a paramount problem, that would never be an issue. But it is, and desperate times call for desperate measures. But the real strategy seems to be, and I'll pick up this point with you, Tim, just not to focus on fossil fuels at all. The push right now, because of these higher prices, to electric vehicles, which of course is good news for environmentalists because they want us off the stuff that you're touting. So how do you change minds, or can you?
Well, that's that is a challenge that we have in trying to help scope this narrative. And the reality is what they're proposing just isn't grounded in reality. Look, we want to meet them on common ground. That was the purpose of our message to the administration last week, is there's common ground which we can meet on. But the first thing you have to do is stop treating the U.S. oil and gas industry as if it is an enemy to the American people. For whatever reason, Venezuelan crude in their mind is better than Wyoming crude or North Dakota crude. And that is just a false narrative that we are struggling to change. To Ron's point, though, Neil, we've got 4,600 permits that could be approved today. We're waiting on additional approval from the administration to get our infrastructure built. For an administration that's so emphasizes infrastructure so heavily, pipeline infrastructure is as important as any other road or bridge. The other thing that they could do, though, is send a clear message to Wall Street, which is it is okay to invest in the oil and gas industry in the United States. They've got to stop sending nominees to Congress who are openly hostile to the industry. They've got to pull back some of these rules that they're putting out, coming out of the SEC and labor and others, essentially trying to debank industry. And in doing so, we'll be able to bridge that transition. Look, we all want to get there eventually, but we'll be able to bridge that transition, but it isn't going to happen tomorrow, despite their best wishes.
So, Ron, Tim had mentioned that you guys have communicated with the White House. I don't know if that directly includes the president. What have you heard back? Because their actions seem to be speaking fairly loudly on this. They're not open to domestic production at all. There's nothing that seems to hint of that. So is this all a waste of time or what?
Well, we sent a letter to the president last week, 10 oil and gas trade associations across this country. It's very insulting to us that we look at Venezuela to increase oil production. The country of Venezuela today produces 800,000 barrels of oil a day. The state of North Dakota produces 1.1 million. We were at 1.5 million about 15 months ago. With the right regulatory policies, the right investment climate, we can increase production in America. That adds jobs, it adds wealth, it adds to our economy, but more importantly, maybe in the geopolitical world, it truly helps our friends and allies across this world in this situation we're in with the Ukraine. It didn't take a rocket scientist to understand that demand was going to go up after we got out of COVID. Supply was going down because of all of the pressures to decrease American oil production. So we're in this situation. America's oil and gas industry stands ready to help, but every day you wake up and the federal government is going after you, targeting you, discouraging investment, discouraging workers. Those things diminish the willingness of the industry to be able to ramp up, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a big industry. It takes a long time to get these permits, these processes in place to increase production, but we can do it in America.
No, I think you're right. I'm always wondering, those who advocate one energy over another, why can't you just be all in on everything? If you want to pursue green technologies and the wind and solar and all, have at it, but don't lose sight of the stuff that we have plenty of here. Go all in with everything. But what do I know? You guys are the experts. Ron and Tim, I want to thank you both for coming here, stating your case.
Thanks.
I think people need to hear it.